My credits in the railway media continued, with occasional video footage used in the Class 37 Hall DVD series, and there were 2 mentions in written publications. The popular monthly magazine Railways Illustrated continued to publish my 5-star comment, declaring it an informative insight into the railways of the past, present and future. The Wensleydale Railways in-house journal featured my Class 37 Driver Experience Day from April 2023. A grand day out. This review of 2025 continues from Disc 1 and doesn't feature any of the activities associated with the Rail 200 celebrations. These are on Disc 3, which features the many and varied events that took place locally to highlight and celebrate the first public train between Shildon and Stockton on the 27th of September 1825. We start with a returning GBRF special to Peterborough, powered by newly named 66s 314 Katie and 313 Lucy. Auburn was the destination for this year's annual weekend special by Saltburn Rail Tours. Its first pickup was at Northallerton before heading to Saltburn. The return run 3 days later was via the Settle and Carlisle line, returning punters to Northallerton before heading to Saltburn via reversal at Stockton. 66951 slowly negotiates Heartburn Junction with 6M95 imported gypsum from Teesside to New Biggin, also on the Settle to Carlisle line. These long box wagons were a frequent sight on Teesside, working various mineral flows to and from the import terminal at Teesport. It's noticeable how much quieter these new build wagons are. The reason for the specials reversal at Stockton is unclear. One possibility was to have the luggage coach in the correct position for station disembarking. In fading light at 9 p.m. after a summer storm, 1Z57 slowly passes the northern point of the Heartburn Triangle. An hour later, and the empty stock returns to Carnforth as 5Z58. The footbridge at South Bank Station was declared unsafe and is due to be replaced. Eastbound passengers have to use a replacement bus service. The skyline here has changed once again, with the building of the world's largest offshore wind monopile production plant. 66511 approaches Middlesbrough with another rake of long box wagons. 6Z32 Gascoigne Wood to Teesport empties. A number of DB sheds were stabled in warm storage status at Tees Yard, where PD Port's blue liveried 66109 Teesport Express passes through with the Moss End to Teesdock container service. Keeping the sheds company is a Network Rail Tampa unit, and 66659 reaches its destination with 6E94 empty steel carriers from Corby. Its next port of call will be the yard's fueling point. "15 miles north of Newcastle is the recently opened station of Ashington, once a centre of the coal mining industry where many inhabitants have a distinctive accent and dialect known as Pitmatic. This varies from the regional dialect known as Geordie. It was also the hometown of footballing legends Jackie Milburn and the Charlton brothers, Bobby and Jackie. A 158 unit arrives from Newcastle, bringing Wayne to join us for a few days at the nearby Sandy Bay Holiday Park. Frequent services now use the new Bay platform, with the freight-only main lines continuing north on the right. Now christened the Northumberland Line, passenger services began again in November 2024 between Newcastle and Ashington, but only 3 of the intermediate stations were open during Wayne's visit: Newsham, Seaton Delaval and Manners. 3 days later, and Wayne's returning home.
Platform 1 for the 10:30 Northern service to Newcastle. Calling at Newsham, Seaton Delaval, Manners and Newcastle. This train is formed of 2 carriages. Platform 1 for the 10:30 Northern service to Newcastle.
Wayne's heading home to watch Borough's opening game of a new championship season, with Newcastle fans heading to St James's Park for a pre-season friendly. For the record, Borough beat Swansea 1-0 and Newcastle lost 2-0 to Atletico Madrid. The railway route is part of the Blythe and Tyne network that had its passenger services withdrawn in 1964 as part of the beaching cuts. It became a freight-only line with frequent coal movements to and from the many local collieries. But with coal now no more, the only regular freight traffic is the supply of biomass wood chips from the port of Tyne to the power station at Lynmouth, 3 miles to the north. GBRF uses Class 60s to haul the lengthy purpose-built hopper wagons quietly on their way. To celebrate and promote the Northumberland line, a 2-car 158 unit received a colourful makeover and name, the Northumbrian. (66-101) passes over the White House level crossing at Cargo Fleet with the regular container service 4E96 Moss End to Tees Dock. quick call at Teesside finds the same 4 66s in warm storage, this time alongside 66655 with 6E94, the steel empties from Corby. (31-128) can be seen from the Abbey Steps in Whitby as it prepares to return with the Pickering service. The NYMR stopped using steam locos during a long dry spell, which saw a large and devastating moorland fire spread across the Fylingdale moors. The fire started on the 11th of August and continued to spread, with fire crews needing national assistance to help contain its movement. The smell of the smoke could be detected in Skipton, 80 miles away. By the 27th of August, it had covered 9.7 square miles, with assistance being stood down from the 4th of September and the major incident status removed 21 days later. A mixture of old and new steel carrying wagons head back empty to Scunthorpe behind 66011, whilst heading in the opposite direction is 66656 with a lengthy load of steel billets for the Skinning Grove works. Wayne was off on another of his many mini breaks, this time returning to Newcastle on the delayed Whitby to Hexham service. (37-418) is pushing Inspection Saloon Caroline to York from Glasgow Central. September soon becomes October and it's leaf fall season again. This year the Nunthorpe workings are operated by Colas 56s, replacing last year's DRS traction. 56, 113 and 105 became regular visitors to the area over the following 2 months. On Tuesdays and Thursdays they returned via a reversal at Darlington, whilst on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays they reversed at South Bank and Northallerton. Another frequent mineral flow is 6M76, a coal-ash operated service between Redcar Hall Terminal and Bradwell sidings near Stoke. The weekday direct service to King's Cross has returned at 18:10 and will now head to Grangetown to reverse before running empty to Heaton Depot. A quartet of 37s wait for the branch to clear before heading to Gromont, returning 688 and 264 after a Severn Valley Railway event. This Saturday working was running 70 minutes late as the new driver gets to grips with the controls. Having changed platforms, the train now has to wait for a new path, a wait of 30 minutes. Time for a few photos before leaving. Two days later, and the same pair return up the bank at Marton. The use of 56s is a welcome sight for retro traction fans like me, but they're not as good as the 37s. Now in their early 60s, like me, they're still going. However, their appearances on Teesside are few and far between. Luckily, another family holiday offered some opportunities to see them on the Colas-operated Yorkshire Wolds Leafbusters. '37s 254 and 099 approached Seamer with 3J51 York to Brough via a reversal at Scarborough. Three days later, a 37-175 has replaced 254, again approaching Seamer. Our holiday caravan was at Caton Bay, and just down the road is Lebberston, where a little used road crossing is still manually operated. After reversing at Scarborough, the 37s head around the curve on their approach to Grythorpe Crossing, the semaphore signal for which can just be seen amongst the trees. Grythorpe Station closed in 1959. It served the local villages, but now the station house is a private dwelling. However, both platforms survive, as does the signal box. Now it's just a gate box, manually controlling the crossing gates and protective signals. It's due to be abolished in 2026 and the area controlled by the Regional Operations Centre in York. There's a bit of a breeze today as the gateman prepares for the arrival of the 37s. '47-746 approaches with a Saltburn Rail Tours Festive Express to Edinburgh.